whale of a tale to tell you lads, a whale of a tale or two.
Pastels. Love the pastels. I've had great success with these on a 1/24th Airfix Spitfire I did. Used them quite extensively on my Aoshima Mad Max 2 Interceptor. A lot of orangey dirt dust and that with the Australian Outback. I also used it on a Blake 7 Liberator just to age the model up a bit and bring it more in line with what the Hero shooting model looked like. Okay, excuse the noise in the background, that's my little compressor going. This is an example of what can happen with pastels, so some things to take into account when you're using them. What I've done here is I've taken some of the russet, white mixed with the creamer colour to make a bone, a little bit of the green and the bright purple. So if that was on a model or a miniature and then you overcoated it, dull coat or whatever, you'll be able to see how it'll change colour. Now I've just got a bit of water in my airbrush just so that we can see how it changes. So yeah, most models are going to get a fairly liberal coat. White not so much. A little bit of the chocolate brown I had in the background, that did a little bit. You can see how much deeper the green has gone. Green has gone. How the bright, the magenta, and of course how the russet's changed a little bit. Now some of the colours won't change a great deal, some will, so it's always good to take that into account. There's a couple of ways to apply the pastels. Taking the pastel, you can basically put your line either broad path on the edge, straight onto the miniature, the model, the scenery piece that you're working on. Then you take your brush and you can work it in that way. It's not a bad way to do it, but it tends to concentrate the chalk in one area. Very hard to feather it in. I keep calling it chalk, it's actually a pastel. It's very hard to feather it in unless you need that specific lump, like a bit of mud, mud splash, dirt splash, carbon scoring from a plasma or laser bolt. Okay, how I prefer to apply the majority of my pastel detailing is with an emery board. You take the pastel that you want in the colour variation you want, and you simply rub it over the emery board. Look, you could use a strip of coarse sandpaper if you wanted to. I'm using this colour primarily just so it stands out on the plate. Now as you can see, it does tend to stick to the emery board a bit. The more humid the weather, the more that can happen. So just brush it off. With the brush you're using. Brush is cleaned quite well on a clean dry rag, preferably a lint-free rag. I use lots of old t-shirts. So then once you've got your colour ground out on your plate, gather it so it's a bit easier to use, and then just use your brush. This is a Tamiya effects brush. Just dabbing it on into the pile of chalk. So then you basically feather it in. Now my turntable is fairly gritty with various paint build-ups and spray build-ups over the last couple of years, so it catches the chalk quite early in the piece. But there I go, saying chalk again. But on a smoother model or a smoother miniature or piece of scenery, you'd be able to spread that out a lot further. Now, if you still find it's not quite how you like, another paintbrush. As I said, one of your older war horses, and just work it in. As you can see, we've still got the initial placement, and it dusts out. last sample I did on my turntable, which is, as I said, quite gritty. I'm not going to collect great wads of my dust with my brush. Basically, I'm just going to gently dab it in and apply the pastel. I don't want to flood it with dust per se. The beauty with pastels is, unlike washes and inks, you can go along and set your whole run up.
Look at this.
And they won't dry on you before you get to spread them out. You get somewhere you don't want it. This is where the little blush brush is good. It's got, although it's a soft bristle, it has quite a firm little sharp edge to it for cleaning up some areas. Some of the pastel dusters in place. I just take my feathered out brush and just work it in. Now, it's better to apply it in smaller applications than try and put too much on. It's a build-up thing. Bit of dust goes where you don't want it. Don't panic unless you actually spill the container. Just brush it away with that firmer brush. Now again, much like the wash application, I'm sort of trying to get the dust to rust off that way, to follow a vague wave motion. I'm just being a bit anal.
Stand by engines. Off ahead.
The difference between this, doing detail and staining this way as opposed to washes you can flick the brush quite dramatically. This is a little bit like working it in, nice and slow. Where would the water sit? Where would the water run? This would be, I think, an area that would have to have some sort of pooling and therefore rust trailing effect, the bolt heads. Not sure if the camera picked it up. It's a bit hard to move, I've got it on a tripod. That area there where I put some dust on the bolt, it's fallen into the raker arch support lintel. So I'm just going to work that down now. Seems like a natural place that water would go, and therefore a bit of corrosion would occur. that's another trick. It's only dust, blow it away. Why I like the makeup brush as opposed to paint brushes for this sort of thing is, well, let's be honest, it's designed to pick up makeup, which is a much finer particle than any chalk or pastel dust I could make. You probably noticed the monster brush I use. It's a big old chunky artist brush, number 12 round. Gets used for a lot of things, dry brushing, cleaning. In the case of this monster, just helping to cover a larger area with the dust. With the dark brown, dark chocolate chalk, I just want to rub over some of the bolt heads. Why go over the bolt heads, you ask, after I've dry brushed them successfully to bring them out? Again, it's the rust thing. Okay. Hopefully you can make out, I can on the viewing screen, but you can just see the darkened heads of the bolts with the chocolate brown. So I'll leave that sit overnight now, and tomorrow it will be airbrushed with the rust oil. One of the drawbacks to pastels, gets your fingers a little grubby.
There is hope for the future. And when the world is ready, all this will someday come to pass. In God's good